Hello there, I am ManInYellow, and today I thought I'd do something a little bit different in that I'm going to be looking at some async games. I think this is something I could maybe make a bit of a series or something that I do every now and again, where I take some of my more fun or just better async games, anything interesting, and I make them short videos in that I probably speed them up a bit. In this first one, we will be looking at a couple Mildred games because I recently tried using Mildred a bit more, and I used it against some of the very high level players in the game, and it worked out pretty damn well. So I thought those would be interesting to show off as the first one. Okay, in the first one of these two, we are going to be looking at a game on ManInYellow where I go against Karth. And they use, I believe it was 3.0 or maybe it was Boss. They use one of the big two fire phobies, if I remember correctly, and I use my Mildred. This is a opener, I'm not quite sure if that's correct from me, where I go spot here. The idea is kind of just that they probably can't move forward with this without like bringing a Gravedigger, destroying this, and then slowly moving out. So I'm forcing them into Gravedigger. If you don't want like this kind of thing to be able to happen as player one, you just put your Unicorn here. But it kind of depends on like how you want to play the game, I guess. Normally on this map, as player one, I would go Gravedigger into Unicorn. But they can do something a bit different, because if you look at this Tickles, it's very easy for them to capture stuff without losing Phobies, in theory at least. This thing is just like very, very high health. A lot of the whales use Tickles a lot because an overlevel Tickles is really, really hard to deal with just because it has so much health. Like Tickles plus Cowbell is one of the most annoying openers ever. What they did here is they just take this point and they destroy the block, like I said, so that they could move the Unicorn out. What I would actually have liked to see from them instead of doing this would be just straight up moving the Corn out here, putting their Tickles here, and then responding by either putting their own spot here or something else that's aggressive. Like maybe they move out with a 1 key here and put a bomb or something here. Maybe not a bomb, actually. A bomb would probably die. Like anything that can survive 2 hits from this, maybe. Like a K9000 or any aggressive phobie. Could even be a 1 key if they want to. What they would do by that is they would force my spot back. I wouldn't be able to just kill the Tickles because then my spot would be taking 2 hits from the Unicorn. And I'm not able to like one punch this Unicorn even if it stands here, because my Snowball cannot reach it since it would have to stand on the same space as the spot. So I think they should have just moved aggressive here instead of like doing this kind of conservative play they did, where I actually get to kill the Tickles for free here. Like the only thing they can do here is hit my Razormouth or my spot ones, and that doesn't really matter to me. So I get to play a utility phobia instead of having to actually fight them, which is good for me. Here they actually move their Unicorn out here, which is weird because they could have hit this once for free. I guess they didn't want to like take the damage where I recapture the point, but it's still a bit of a weird play to do that. I just banked because they banked. There was not really any thought behind that other than if they go for something big, I want something that can counter it. They just go Stabby here, which is actually pretty smart. When you bank and your opponent also banks with you, it's because they want to counter whichever large phobia you summon. So if you just summon a mid-range phobia or like a small, strong phobia while keeping yourself up in keys, they are kind of forced to respond to this phobia with something that is either big or as large as that. At least I think that's a good idea to do. Because if they had just gone for a large phobia, I could counter it, and if they just banked, we would just be looking at each other without doing anything. So that makes some amount of sense to do. Stab is also just very good, especially when it's this high level. Like, I'm gonna be taking a lot of damage from killing that. Quite obviously. Stab is one of those phobies that kind of gets better if it's over level to a certain degree. You will see here I just hit it. I don't pull because I would die. And then I take the point so that they can't go aggressive. If I didn't take the point here, they could in theory just walk in with everything. I also summoned the bomb just to make sure that they cannot go in ever in any way here, because I don't want my attack to get overwhelmed while I don't have power on the board. Like if I had just kept the Razormouth sitting down here and I hadn't summoned this bomb but just banked instead, they could in theory just have walked up, hit me, put the Gravedigger here and put the Unicorn here, and then summoned like a very large phobia and walked out there, and my attractor would be completely boned. Like it would be very hard to survive. So that's why I summoned the boom and like went in with the Razormouth and stuff. Plus I also just liked taking the point. Okay, so it was a 3.0 that they summoned, which makes a lot of sense. Like, that phobia is very strong, obviously, and they also have very strong tools to make it work, as we will see in a little bit. I believe they bring Cupcake. In my opinion, it would probably be scarier if they just brought a Le Shovel, which I can't remember if they do or not. But Le Shovel with Hevo 3.0 is really, really nasty. This combo of Cupcake with 3.0 is also nasty though. Like, you can already see 500 buff on this, which is also very high level. Like, they would be doing way more than 1,200 damage. And like, this would just die if that gets hit by that. So I'm forced to run away. I'm forced to essentially just stay completely out of range from this Hevo 3.0. It's not really any other choice. And here comes my Mildred. I was kind of considering whether I should go Erratic or something else instead, but I didn't really want to face this with Erratic, because if you go Erratic into a Hevo 3.0 that already has some other decent phobies like Gravedigger with it, which works well with Hevo 3.0 and a Cupcake, most likely your Erratic will just get one shot. So I didn't like that idea. Instead, I just wanted to go for my own large phobia, and I saved enough keys that I can go Le Shovel after, if I need to, which works very well with Mildred also. Here I pull on, I believe, the Stabby. Or was it on the Stabby? Yeah, it was on the Stabby. And I was kind of worried that like they would get too close to the point where I would just lose everything, but they didn't. And I can use the boom here to kill the Stabby, which is also very important. I think they should have placed their phobies in a way where Hevo 3.0 would be pulled forward instead. You can also see that I use my Gravedigger as like material for blocking the Hevo 3.0, because otherwise it would just end up with me dying. And since it doesn't look like I need Le Shovel or anything to like hit with the Mildred, because I already got my hit in, I'm just gonna summon a strong turret to help my fighter. And I choose the Stabby over something like a Bow Mangles here, because I want the dimensional pull to move them closer to me. You can see if they instead have placed their phobies in a slightly different way, where maybe like the Hevo 3.0 would get pulled in, like maybe it was sitting here or something, maybe it would die if it sat here, but it could at least sit be like as the Gravedigger does right now. These two could be swapped, or maybe the Gravedigger could sit up here. If they had done that instead, then the 3.0 would be too close and I would end up losing something in return. Also, the reason why I placed this Gravedigger block here, even though my Attractor looks like it's out of range of the Hevo 3.0, is because they could walk up with this and place a block otherwise. So like, if we imagine that my Gravedigger and block aren't here, they could walk up with this, put a block here, walk up and hit the block with their 3.0 after buffing it, and I would lose my Attractor, which would be very bad for me. So that's why I'm choosing to do this, despite it meaning that my Gravedigger is most likely gonna get obliterated. As you can also see. Like, that is very, very disgusting. By the way, if you have this phobia with Cupcake or even Gonzo, but mostly Cupcake because that's kind of better for that, and you have a Phantom, try using that combo. That is very disgusting. You could just see how much damage that did. Imagine that hits your entire team. That's just game over. They bring a Sheep here, which I believe they want to use against my Mildred. I don't really think that's the best thing they could bring here, but I mean, that works out in my favor. Because like, I'm just gonna retreat a little bit and then do some like waiting game, because I want to wait anyway, since my Mildred wants its cooldown back. Like, this phobia is useless on its cooldown turn, obviously, so I have to wait either way. Then I'm just gonna try and destroy this block, because the blocks are very bad for me to a certain degree. Like, the 3.0 splashing off means I can't walk forward to recapture this point. Of course, I do like the blocks a little bit, because the Mildred can hit on those blocks. At this point, I think they have just kind of given up, because they're walking into a Mildred with all of their phobies. Like, they're obviously just gonna get bombed. They could probably see where this was going, so I think that's what happened. But they actually still do a decent chunk of damage to me. I believe, at least. Or maybe they just surrender. I think they just surrendered, actually, but they could have done some damage to me. Yeah, they just surrender, as you can see on the turn timer. But like, this this 3.0 could have actually dealt a lot of damage to this. Like, he could easily kill this, and then my Mildred would be waiting for a turn, and he could kill this next turn. But Mildred obviously wins against the 3.0 in the long run, plus it takes so much damage from killing the Stabby and also being hit by the spot after, that I would win the game. And the Gravedigger is obviously useless at this point, so the game was over. It makes sense that they surrendered. And we have our second async game here with Papu on the carousel. I don't know if that's the correct way of saying their name, where I also use Mildred here. And I believe they used Russell, I'm pretty sure at least. For anyone who like has Russell but haven't been using it since it was bad before, it is not bad anymore. It's pretty decent. I mean, I don't think it's as good as some people make it out to be, because some people say it's like very bad that it's good, because it's like almost too good into what it's good into now. But I still don't think it's like that insane or anything. It's just kind of annoying more than anything, and it's like very easy to use. But as you will see here, I beat it even though I'm playing Mildred, which is an undead, as my main phobie, and I don't like play a lot of mix in this match, if I remember correctly. At least I haven't so far. Also here I just poisoned this to force it to like suicide or whatever you want to call it, because otherwise I would have a very annoying time dealing with the boomer. Does mean that I have to sacrifice the Henrietta soon because it's damaged, and it would otherwise just be very easy for them to kill. Also, this is another thing that you see a lot of the high level players do. They bring Hevo because an over leveled Hevo is so scary. It's still like when it's over leveled, the attack power being a bit lower doesn't matter as much, and it is just disgustingly tanky. So I have to bring like something to deal damage to it here, obviously, which is where you see the Gonzo Bonzo come in, because like this can obviously buff a phobie, so it helps me kill something that is very tanky. Also, the reason why I chose the middle point here is because I can't defend the bottom point at all. And there's no chance I can defend that if the Hevo just walks onto it. Again, I bank with them here, just like I did in the last match. That is something you see a decent amount at higher ranks at least. When one player banks, the other will do the same, unless it's like on a large map where you are able to play aggressive, but this is obviously not that kind of game. Then I just bring a 1 key. Joe's back because they don't have a 1 key yet, so they're like forced to summon a 1 key if they don't want damage on their phobies here. Again, we see the tickles, very, very common from pretty much everyone who is high level in this game. Even the ones who aren't whales, who are just like dolphins or fish or whatever you want to call it, who have spent a small bit of money but not a lot, they are also using tickles a lot. So it's a very used phobie. And I'm bringing Mildred here because I just want the very large amount of power. I actually think I barely won this game. It was probably pretty close, if I remember right. This is a point where I just get to use the Mildred ability for free, which I obviously like. It doesn't do much damage to these other ones, but I'm still gonna do it just because, like, getting, what was that in total, like 950 damage is perfectly fine for me. I did not use the buff on it just because it does very little when they're that far out. And then I bring the shovel, like I said before, it works very well with Mildred. The only problem with bringing the shovel here is that I kind of don't have enough attack power if they just go in right now, which I think they actually do, or maybe they don't, I can't remember. I think the Klepto, maybe it's next turn that they woke up. Either way, like, the Mildred didn't have any power there, so that was kind of bad for me. Here I end up using my buffs because I want to like hit their phobies, and I'm kind of forced to fight because of this Russell coming out. Like I only have 1 mechanical and 4 normal phobies, so this is going to poison basically my entire team for 400 next turn, which is a lot of poison, so I have to go in. Like there's not really a choice. I'm also sending the Gravedigger in here to essentially die, so that's also not that good for me. And I'm putting Mildred up here, despite it being on cooldown. I'm just putting it in range, and it's not in like danger of dying up here, so it's fine to put it in range of things because it's gonna heal so much anyway. And I just use the thing on the middle phobie because that's the only thing that really makes sense to do. And I sacrificed the corn because it would die in 2 turns either way. If this had like slightly more health, like if it was 1 level higher so that it survived 3 turns, I may have kept it alive for a little bit. But there's no reason to do that. If it's dying that soon, then I might as well just give up on it. And finally I bring a mechanical turret just because I wanted a turret, but I'm not gonna bring a stabby into a Russell just in case the game goes very long. Plus the extra attack is probably better right here anyway. I was honestly kind of surprised that they went that aggressive here, where they placed the cassowary on lava and everything. But I guess they really wanted to like force this Gonzo to die. Plus they're taking all of the panic points, which is kind of worrying since I only have like 2 or 3 turns left in me, and like including theirs. So I'm kind of forced to try and do something at least. And what you could see here is I actually don't take any of the points, but that's just because I exactly cannot die. I'm gonna take 7, 14, 21. So 2,115, I believe, damage. And this is not gonna be able to finish me because like that will be at the end of my turn that I take that, and I would kill them all on my next turn. So even if he jumps on this, I will have a little bit of health left. It's something like, I can't even remember now. It's very little health that I will have left. You can see it at the start of next turn. If they had jumped on me, they would have dealt, right, 700 and something. I would have had 100 health left, and then I would obviously kill them. So it didn't matter that he could jump on this. If I had like slightly less health, or this had more attack, I would have been forced to take a panic point a turn earlier. But I'm obviously not now. So now I just kill the Russell and this die to lava, which end up with me barely winning the game. But a win is a win, and they are way higher level than I am, obviously. So overall, I would say that Mildred actually did pretty well here. As you could probably see, I only use it on small maps. I pretty much never bring it on large maps, with like a few exceptions. Just because, like, first of all, it's way too easy for them to go Smiley into it, which is rather annoying. It's not like the end of the world. You can still win against Smiley, but it's annoying to deal with a lot of the time. And I also just think it's like too slow for a lot of the large maps. Like, it takes so long for it to be relevant that you kind of just fall behind if you bring it as your 8 key. But on small maps, it can be pretty good, especially on, I can't remember its name. It's like a map where you have a couple like obstacles like this, and you have a panic point here, panic point here, panic point here, and 2 like, what are they called? Like the buffing tiles out here. I think it might be for Nazified. I can't remember the exact names of all the maps, just off memory. But on that map, I think Mildred is actually pretty damn good. It's at least like one of the better maps for it. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed, and if you want more async videos, feel free to tell me. If you think it doesn't really work as well as the arenas, then I will just only do arenas. But I just wanted to try and make one just for fun. And I also have a couple other ones I might do together with this one, just so that I have at least some of them.